So this is the presidency. We're picking it back up with slide 12, the commander-in-chief clause, Article 2, Section 2. So the president shall be commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states when called into the actual service of the United States. So obviously they didn't have an Air Force back in George Washington's day. They didn't have a whole lot of things. You know, single barrel musket. That's about it. So when does this happen? When can a president be commander-in-chief? When is it legal? When can he act as commander-in-chief? Well, that's part of the job title. He is commander-in-chief all the time. All right? That's it. He's commander-in-chief of the armed forces all the time. When is it legal for him to act as such? One, if he is called upon to repel an invasion of the United States. If the Canadians decide to invade Michigan and throw maple syrup bottles at the Michigan National Guard, he is perfectly within his rights, without seeking any declaration of war from Congress or anything like that, to send the Army up there to get rid of them, to send the Canadians back over to their side of the border. When is this legal? Number two, if there is a formal declaration of war from Congress. All right, Congress can declare war, not the president. The president does not declare war. You look confused. Are you? No? Okay. All right, good. Because that definitely is a question that'll be asked 2 or 3 times in 3 or 4 different ways on the test. Now, we'll talk about this in a little bit. When can the president? He doesn't declare war, but he is authorized to deploy troops under something called the War Powers Resolution Act, which we'll get more into next week. All right, the War Powers Resolution Act, in short, was passed by Congress in a moment of madness to authorize the President of the United States to send troops overseas for 60 days. Then, if he felt that he needed more time, if the objective had not been accomplished, he could ask for it. If not, there's 30 days for a withdrawal. So the President could technically be over wherever he might want to be for 90 days. Now, this is an act that is a source of some contention, and we'll get into that. But invasion, declaration of war by Congress, those are the only 2 times it's legal for a president to act as commander-in-chief. Now, I will also caveat this statement by saying that other scholars might tell you differently. But how I read the Constitution and how I've studied the texts and the information available and how I was taught by my teachers informs me that those are the only 2 instances where it is legal. If there was somebody else sitting in this chair right now, again, they might tell you differently. But you're in my class right now, and those 2 things are certainly going to be on the next test you take. All right. So debatable, again, when he can use his commander-in-chief powers. Depends on who you ask. It comes down to views of the Constitution, political affiliation, hey, so-and-so is a Trump supporter, so-and-so is a Biden supporter. I really like what Trump was doing in I don't. I'm just giving you an example. I really liked what Trump was doing in Afghanistan. I think that, it's legal for him to be over there. There are all sorts of definitions and ways that people can look at these issues. But the last time that war was officially declared by Congress, who has the power to declare war, was in 1942 against those great menaces, Bulgaria, Hungary, and Romania. I like our odds if we had to take them again. They had joined the Axis.
So,
Yeah.
Congress declares war,
Yes.
but would the president announce it to publicity?
The president, how this should, I've told you that how it should work is over here, and how it is working is way over here. And I doubt that's going to change in this country in my lifetime or in my daughter Victoria's lifetime, and that makes me very worried for her. The president goes to Congress and formally requests a declaration of war. Congress debates this, and then there might be a joint resolution. It is the sense of this Congress that war should be declared, or some such wording. There might be a bill that's passed through both houses very quickly. War is typically declared very quickly, or has in the past been declared, because we haven't had a declaration of war since 1942. So this hasn't happened in any of our lifetimes. In fact, we've drawn, we've completely pulled out of Afghanistan. But, my generation, people born in 1990, the last time I looked, I believe the country had been at war for about 95% of my life in some form or the other, or a military operation or a special operation or whatever the administration of the day wanted to call it. You guys might be a little less, since we've drawn out of Afghanistan now, and that number might have also dropped for me, but we've been involved militarily all over the world for an uncomfortable amount of all our lives. Cadence.
Yeah, I remember reading that there's less than 10 years since the U.S. started that we haven't been in some type of war or conflict.
I believe it, yeah. If you can find that source, send it to me. I'd love to read it. So we didn't want, our forebears anyway, early Americans, we didn't want to give the political class many powers and more time. And but we did see the failure of a weak executive under the Articles of Confederation. There was the President of the Continental Congress. That was about the highest executive office that there was in the United States. That was about, let's try English. That was the highest position you could have in the United States at that time. That was akin roughly to the modern day equivalent of president. There, that came out. Correct, yeah. So we wanted a single leader during times of conflict, because the Congress was just debating and constantly talking about maybe what we should do next, so there were too many chiefs and not enough Indians running the thing. Probably not a politically correct statement at this time, but it gets the point across, yeah. So the framers didn't want to have an unchecked president, so we granted powers to Congress, and Congress has a lot of powers, and if it chose, it could certainly exercise them. Congress, for example, controls the purse strings. Congress decides about military funding. Congress, as we know, declares war. Congress can limit or not limit the use of weapons in a conflict. Congress can do all sorts of things to set parameters for the president in a military conflict. Are you going to ask why Congress doesn't do this?
I was just gonna ask, is it kind of like what's going on now with the Supreme Court Justice, who's not, isn't it
Katani Jackson, yeah.
So is
Yeah.
that kind of like an example of like, you know, she was appointed by the president, but now Congress is like kind of like interviewing her, they're like, what did they do? With the same should be
Yeah,
doing?
I mean, really, roughly speaking, roughly speaking, that's analogous, yeah. Yeah, so, the president can appoint a nominee. Congress has to confirm that nominee before the nominee can officially become Justice Jackson. Yeah.
I was watching some for like that trial or whatever she's going through right now, like the questions.
The confirmation hearings.
Yeah, it really was. Some of those questions we were just like asking her, and I was just like, I feel like this literally has nothing to do with what, it was just trash. It's trash.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah. I watched the I am on Instagram. Yeah, I'm not that old. I am on the gram. I follow C-SPAN because, why not? I'm a big nerd. And I saw yesterday Ted Cruz and Dick Durbin got into a yelling match during.
Cruz was like grilling her about like racist babies and
Yeah.
Yeah,
a book.
that has nothing to do with it.
And then who was it? Someone was like, are you Catholic? I would so if you were Catholic if I were you. And I'm like, I don't understand what they're trying to achieve here, but it was bad.
Yeah, the lines of questioning were odd in some cases.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with judicial philosophy. Roe versus Wade, that's always a question that gets asked at every Supreme Court hearing. Okay, but are you, what faith are you?
I would like you if I were you or something.
I would be, he said, I would be offended if I were you being asked that question. Yeah, that would be offensive to me. Well, then why would you ask that question? I don't know. We're going to get to that when we get to the Supreme Court. I haven't forgotten that a Supreme Court justice is being confirmed. We just haven't gotten there yet. What are you two laughing about? Nothing. All right.